All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got Thursday night football, week number 3. The Bills are taking on the Dolphins. In today's video, I'm going to dive into this game. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props as we break it down that we like as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest, if you do want to fade me, all of that absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. Real quick, before we do dive into the video, guys, I wanted to talk to you about our NFL dashboard. You'll see a bunch of these graphics, and we kind of go through it as we're going through this video and this matchup. But this is the Guy Boston Sports NFL dashboard, GuyBostonSports.com. Head to the members area, NFL dashboard, right? It has all of the key stats from team trends to quarterback profiles, you know, versus zone, versus man, versus presser, versus blitz. We have offensive stats. We have defensive stats. We have defense in terms of their zone versus man frequency or pressure or blitz rate, all that good stuff. We even have a newly added matchup analyzer to help you with your player prop research and everything like that as well. That's based on defensive DVOA as well as fantasy points allowed to the position. So a lot of cool stuff here on the dashboard. Again, guys, GuyBostonSports.com. Head over to the members area and sign up today. So in terms of how we made out last week, week number 2, a positive week. We'll take a little cha-ching from the soundboard. We make, and it was a slight profit, but nonetheless in the green, make some profit on Thursday night football. We have a decent Sunday slate. Monday Night Football was a little weird. We looked like we knew exactly what we were doing in that Bucks and Texans game. We had the Bucks money line as well as a teaser, Bucks plus some more points and the under. But then that second game rolled around and we go 1-2. Keenan Allen over 4.5 receptions being our sole winner in that one. But nonetheless, a green week, a profitable week. Let's see if we can take some of that momentum and apply it to this one. Guys, before we dive into it, do me a favor, do us a favor, do yourselves a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. You guys have been absolutely awesome to start the NFL season, and it does not go unnoticed. I do not take it for granted. I sit here with the microphone and the camera and all the setup. I get it, but I know it takes 2 to tango. You guys are a massive, massive gear in the machine in this community that we are building. So really do appreciate it, guys. Let me know your favorite plays in this game in the comments down below. And like I tell you guys, you're not just letting me know, you're also letting a ton of other people that are looking for plays. You're letting them know where your angles are coming from as well. So go ahead and drop those down in the comments. But let's talk about this Thursday night football matchup. We got the Bills, 12.5-point favorites, total sitting at 49.5. Bills come into this one 2-0 now. Their wins are polar opposites, right? They have a come-from-behind miraculous win in week number 1, Sunday Night Football versus Baltimore, and then they stomped the Jets 30-10 last week. Miami, speaking of polar opposites, Miami's kind of like the polar opposite of the Bills right now. They get stomped 33-8 week number 1 against Indianapolis, and then they play the Patriots last week and lose 33-27. Now, as a Patriots fan, I'll admit, Miami had multiple opportunities to win that game. Achane stepped out of bounds at the end as well. Like, Miami could easily be 1-1 right now. I get that. But they do have a tough and tall task ahead of them here with this Bills squad. So in this video, guys, we're going to dive into this one like I mentioned. We have Miami offensive breakdown versus this Bills defense. Then we'll dive into the Bills offense versus the Miami defense. I'll give you my spread lean, my total lean, and then we'll dive into the player prop portion of today's video. Sound good? Let's do it. All right, Tua and this Miami offense versus the Bills defense. It's important to note that this Bills team historically has leaned slightly towards the zone side of coverage. Now in week number 1 and week number 2, they've actually been fairly split, but I'm willing to think that this is a Bills team that's going to throw some zone at Tua, which is a good thing for him. He's been historically a little bit better against zone than he is man. Even taking a peek at his stats from a year ago, you can see attempts, yards per attempt, completion percentage, DVOA, EPA, everything looks better. I mean, I guess except the interception rate, but even still, it's a close margin. Everything looks better in terms of zone versus man for him. That being said, Indianapolis played a ton of zone in week number 1, and we saw Tua really struggle, right? 14 of 23, 114 yards through the air. He did have a touchdown, but 2 picks. So right now, I'm not exactly sure what to make of Tua. If we look at last year's numbers the year before, yeah, he might actually be okay against his own defense, but will he? Now, when it comes to the pressure and the blitz, that's something to also note here, because this Bills team, I can assure you, will be bringing the pressure, will be bringing the blitz. They've already been a top 10 team in terms of frequency through 2 weeks. They were a top 10 team last year, so I don't expect that to change, and I think that that's a good thing for the Bills, if you like the Bills in this one, because Tua has 1 bad game and 1 good game. Against New England, he obviously looked very, very good. 26 of 32. He threw for over, I think, 350. He threw for 315 yards, something like that. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Polar opposite of week 1, right? Well, the Patriots didn't blitz. They didn't pressure him, whereas Indianapolis blitzed him a ton. So all of a sudden, the picture's starting to look pretty clear for Tua, right? If this Bills team can get to him, if they blitz, if they can apply pressure, Tua will most likely struggle. And I do think that this Bills defense, in terms of at least their game plan heading into this, will schematically be similar to what Indianapolis did versus the Patriots. So I think the Bills defense will give Tua a little bit of struggle here, which shouldn't be all that shocking, right? Now, in terms of the run game, some of the Miami numbers, in terms of advanced numbers, look pretty good, like them having the 4th highest yards per carry this season, or top 10 or top 11 in success rate, top 10 in yards before contact, etc. But ultimately, if you've watched this Miami team, I don't think the run game's been all that great. Week number 1, Achane had 7 for 55. He did have 1 for 26, but even still, you take away an explosive run, and he's looking at, 7 or 6 rushes for like 30 yards? Yikes. New England, 11 for 30. So yes, some of the advanced numbers look okay, but I wouldn't sit there and say that this is going to be an absolute run fest on the Dolphins side of things. Buffalo didn't look good against the Ravens in week number 1, right? That makes sense, though. It was Derrick Henry. Now they have a chance to bounce back in week number 2, and they did just that. Breece Hall and the Jets' run attack barely did anything. I mean, the Jets offensively barely did anything. So I'm willing to chalk up that bad week number 1 to the fact that it was the Ravens, and that this Bills team actually is a little bit better in terms of run defense than they showed in that game. Like Derrick Henry, King Henry, Lamar Jackson and company, obviously a tough offense to stop, and there was a lot, and I mean a lot, of runs that Henry just broke through and barely got touched, or broke 1 tackle and kept going. I think the Bills are a little bit better than that. So yeah, I don't think this Dolphins offense has an easy task ahead. I think the Bills defense will look a little bit better than they did week 1, maybe probably a little bit worse to some degree than they did in week number 2, but obviously, we thought their defense stunk after week number 1, and they kind of shut up a lot of people. So now let's talk about this Buffalo offense against this Miami defense, right? Starting with the quarterback, Josh Allen. He has historically been better against zone than he has man. Similar to Tua, there are a lot of positives on the zone side of things for Josh Allen compared to the man. Most notably, I would say the 70.1, over 70% completion percentage against zone compared to under 60% at 58.6. So knowing that Miami will most likely play a decent amount of zone is obviously very good for Josh Allen. They've also played a lot of 2 high safety looks so far in terms of coverage, and Josh Allen, though it's a small sample size, has an over 80% completion percentage against the 2 high looks. So yes, again, it's really a small sample size. When he played Baltimore and the Jets, they didn't throw too many of those looks at him, but when they did, looked pretty good, and it's something that Miami's done a lot this year. Now, Miami hasn't really applied a ton of pressure, but they have been blitzing. They've been blitzing at the 3rd highest frequency to start the season, and neither Baltimore nor the Jets blitzed really all that much against Allen. So say what you want about the defenses that he's faced so far, this, for all intents and purposes, is the most likely to blitz team, and they're going to drop some blitzes and get to him, which is not all that bad of a strategy for Miami. You can see via our dashboard right here, pressure and blitz, like that's where you're going to get Josh Allen. That's where you're going to get him to make some of those boneheaded throws or bad decisions, or when he tries to do too much and does something wrong. Like when he has pressure in his face or when he gets blitzed, that is where you'll see some of those happen. So I think that could be Miami's secret to potentially, and I mean potentially, keeping this thing relatively close, if that's even possible. So yeah, I would say that Miami probably sends some people at him. That being said, this is a big thing to note here. Daniel Jones is also someone that historically has really, really struggled against the pressure and struggled against the blitz. And Daniel Jones threw for 272 yards, 1 touchdown. He was 22 of 29 against his Miami team. So just because you're calling blitzes doesn't necessarily mean that they're working all that well, right? Now, from the run perspective, I would say a lot of this is going to be skewed by week number 2. James Cook had a phenomenal game. He ran the ball 21 times, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, that's going to skew some things. But this Buffalo run attack is the number 1 team in the league right now, and by a large margin in terms of EPA at 17.6, estimated points added, and per attempt, 0.23. That's the number 1 team as well. This run attack could do some damage against Miami simply because we saw a lot of man running schemes in week number 2, which is somewhat of Miami's weakness or Achilles heel dating back a couple years. The thing is, we don't normally see Buffalo run these types of run plays. Usually it's inside zone or outside zone or something like that, but they did run a hefty portion of their runs as man schemes in week number 2, and it worked really well. Who's to say that Buffalo doesn't come in being like, well, the week worked last week, why don't we keep that rolling? So if they do that, I would expect Buffalo to be able to move the ball. And obviously, based on what we've talked about, if that pressure gets home, that's like the only kryptonite that I could see going after Superman here in Josh Allen. Everything else kind of points in the Bills' direction, right? So when it comes down to it, where do we go in this game? And I would say it's really hard not to look at the Bills. 12.5 is a huge number, especially in a divisional matchup, especially when Miami may be really, really hungry and looking for a win and trying to prevent themselves from going 0-2. But you almost would have thought that last week, right? And they pissed it away in that game. Now they're going up against one of the best teams in the entire league. 12.5 is a big number. I don't know if I get there myself, but I'm really not seeing enough on the Miami side to get there. Maybe this is a spot in which we could look at a teaser or a same game parlay or something like that, because if we can get the Bills at a lower number, sign me up, right? That total is also a little confusing. There's plenty of reasons why we could think that this Bills team will put up a decent stat line, but what if, I've already talked about, what if the blitz actually does work against Josh Allen? Now, he's historically pretty good against his Dolphins team, but what if still remains the question, right? I would probably say that I don't necessarily trust Miami's offense all that much. So if we were to look at anything in terms of a total, maybe it's somewhat of a Bills team total over, which could work its way right into a teaser or a same game parlay as well, right? Looking at the Bills like -6.5 and buying their team total down to X or whatever it is and being able to roll with that. So maybe that is somewhat of a strategy there. So yeah, leaning Bills, I guess leaning over, but it's more so because I think the Bills are going to carry the water here. But let's go ahead and dive into the player prop portion of today's video. We do have a few spots that I am really liking, so yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Guys, I wanted to talk to you about Chalkboard. If you have not signed up yet, you are literally missing out on a free $20. That's right. Using the link down in the description, as well as the pinned comment using code GUYBOSTON as well, you'll get a free $20 upon signup. You don't even need to deposit to get that. Now, you're going to want to deposit because if you do, you're going to get a deposit match, which is obviously great. You're also going to get a Josh Allen free square for this Thursday Night Football game, and they have a ton of other promos on the app as of right now. They have been crushing it in terms of promos and boosts to start the NFL season. So go check it out today, guys. That link, again, will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment, or just use code GUYBOSTON when signing up. Free $20. If you were walking down the street and you saw a $20 bill sitting there, would you pick it up? I would. You should too. Go ahead and check it out, guys. Link down below. First one up here is going to be Keon Coleman. I like his over 2.5 receptions. I also like his receiving yards, especially if you can get it, I believe, at like 39.5. Don't mind that whatsoever. Now, if you look at his recent games to close out last year or to start this season, week number 1 looked very, very good, and that all came pretty late in the game. Week number 2, not so much. Now, we have to remember that Josh Allen didn't even really have the best of games in week number 1. They only passed the ball 39% of the time. So when we look at this, yes, that's obviously going to be a spot in which it's like, well, that doesn't look great. but I still do think that he will be all right. Not the best numbers against Miami historically either, so why do we like this? Well, Keon Coleman is leading the team in terms of zone routes run, so routes run against zone coverage, which again, we expect this to be a pretty heavy zone defense, and I believe he's second in target rate, so I expect him to get some looks here against this Miami squad. He's also leading the team, number 1 in terms of routes run against 2 high safety looks and target percentage in terms of 2 high safety looks. So I think Coleman could have a decent game. I like his receptions there to catch 3 balls. You could see against Miami, again, not exactly doing all that much, but he wasn't getting the targets last year at that time. I do expect him to get a few more targets. You could see in his last 5 games, he's averaged 2.8 targets. Last 10 games, he's averaged 2.2 targets. Already this season, I would think that he's going to go out there and be able to come out and say, okay, well, he's going to get, not 11 targets again, but maybe like 5-ish targets if we do look at sort of the averages here. So I like him to catch some balls. The yards, again, I like because he can have one play for 40 yards that it's like, oh, let's go. But realistically, 3 balls for him to catch doesn't seem like it's all that crazy, right? Now, we can also look at our NFL dashboard here, and you'll see that Keon Coleman, we actually have a fairly easy matchup for. What this takes into account is DVOA versus position, as well as fantasy points allowed to the position. It's an algorithm that we have. So a fairly easy matchup here for Keon Coleman. Absolutely love that. If we're going to stay in the Buffalo realm, where else would we go? Oh, looking at this, fairly easy matchup for Dalton Kincaid. We were able to look at this earlier at minus 165 on MGM, and I said, wow, that is a mispriced line. A bunch of prices were in the minus 190s, and, glad we did, right? Now, I still don't mind this. Over 3.5 for plus 144. Let's refresh this and make sure we have the most up-to-date lines. Over 3.5 for plus 149 right now. Absolutely love that. In terms of 2.5, you can get it at minus 162. Perfect. I do think that Dalton Kincaid, for similar reasons as Coleman, gets some looks in this one. Now, not because of the zone, not because of the 2 high safety, but he leads the team in terms of routes run and target share through 2 weeks against the blitz. Now, what did I say is one thing that we can definitely expect from this Miami defense? Them to blitz. So if Dalton Kincaid is that first look for Josh Allen in the short yardage and everything like that, I like him to catch 3 balls. I don't mind his over 29.5 either when it comes to yards. I think you can get 27.5. This was 27.5 earlier, but still don't mind it if you want to, buy down a couple yards there just to be somewhat safe. But for both these guys, I do like the receptions because of the fact that we could also see some dump off passes late in the game and that type of thing. Not necessarily taking shots with the Bills offense here, but more so if they do want to run clock, if they do want to chew time, both of these types of plays could be screen passes, could be little dump off passes in the flats, that type of thing. Now, another spot that I considered, and this is the last one that we have for today's video, is Tua and his over and his pass completions. This is what I'm looking at here. So 75% in terms of on-target percentage this year. In terms of, last year he had an 80% on-target percentage, but when he plays the Bills, 92% on-target percentage. And if we think that they're going to be getting beat handily by this Bills team, Tua's going to need to throw the ball a decent amount, right? So I don't mind the idea of that over 22.5. We already talked about it over on the dashboard as well, that Tua is a lot better at zone, and I'm at least projecting this Buffalo team to run a decent amount of zone. The blitz, the pressure, that's where you're going to get me. That's where you can definitely argue that, hey, Tua may not be in the best place and he doesn't have the best stats against this Bills team historically. But still, that 95% on target rating in percentage really kind of sells me towards looking at Tua's passing completions. One thing that I've also considered would be moving all of these down a little bit and looking at some sort of a same game parlay. We've been having a lot of success doing that with these primetime games. Now, last week, obviously, it didn't go too well with Justin Herbert and Geno Smith, but I still like the practice. I like the theory that we could do that because these are good looks in terms of what the data is telling us. And if we can get a lower line, toss them into something together, maybe there is some value there, right? But just to recap, guys, the player props, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, I like their spots. I'm also kind of on the fence with Tua, but I do like him some way, shape, or form because I think he's going to be throwing the ball a decent amount and into some soft zone coverage. Hopefully. In terms of our spread side, I'm looking at the Bills, but I really would like a better number if we could parlay or same game or tease or something like that. And then in terms of the total, Bills team total over is what I'm looking at. Now, I know this is fairly chalky and all that, but we don't get to choose the primetime games, right? This one was dealt to us, and yeah, it's a big number, divisional game. I get it if someone likes Miami, but there just is not enough that I've seen or that I'm looking into here to put me on that Miami side. But guys, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 18. You made it past the 18-minute mark. Like I said at the beginning, really do appreciate all of the support. Let me know if you guys like the graphics coming in for the offense versus defense and that type of thing. Is that something that we should keep doing, keep adding in? Do you like more graphics? Is it too much? Let me know in the comments. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.